Welcome back to the course. In this video, we're gonna be learning about continuation patterns in trends. Okay, let's continue our discussion on this. So, where trends pause before continuing higher or lower. Okay, so these are the continuation patterns where a trading range that forms during an uptrend or downtrend, okay, and prices pause, consolidates, then continues in the same direction. All right, so you can see that here, um, these continuation patterns are, you see, all these new structure forms, but the market just continues to go up. That's what that's what we call continuation pattern. There are two types of continuation patterns. Okay, first of all, that's reaccumulation. All right, this is a structure which forms during an uptrend. Okay, it forms during uptrend, prices pause, institutions buy more, and their price continues higher. Okay, so you can see this structure. Buying climax, automatic rally, reaction. This is your reaccumulation pattern. All right. uh, in other terms, it's called continuation patterns. All right, it goes up, comes down, like that, comes back down, goes back up again, down and up again. So you can see that even though you would categorize them as a distribution, potential distribution, it is actually an reaccumulation pattern. Okay, because if you remember, like I told you guys, when the price makes high lows, it's basically an uptrend, and actually this markup phase or markup price cycle, it's telling you that the price is making high lows, right? So there is another type of continuation patterns. We call it redistribution. Okay, this uh, this forms. Um, okay, so see, this gets formed, right, uh, during downtrend as the market is going down. Price pauses, institutions sell more, then price continues lower. All right, you can see institutions sell more and then price continues even lower. All right, so this is your redistribution pattern, that one. All right, after distribution, redistribution. Okay, in distribution you have buying climax, in accumulation you have selling climax, but in reaccumulation, redistribution, you have basically uh, a failed accumulation is a redistribution. Okay, and a failed a failed distribution is a reaccumulation. Does it make sense? Like, in uptrend, um, you know like I'll explain in more detail later on, but you see, this is redistribution, this is redistribution again. All right. So the key insight is that these are not trend reversals. All right, their rest stops before the trend continues. All right, you can see their rest stops before trend continues down. Rest stops, then trend continues down. Okay, so this is what you need to remember. All right. Yeah, so let's continue. Why do continuation patterns form? Well, uh, institutions need to add to their positions. All right, that's what we call reaccumulations, or exit more positions. We call it redistribution, without moving price too much. All right, so it's very simple, guys. If you're an institution and you need to add to the positions or exit more positions, you need some sort of continuation patterns to have in the market, without moving the price too much. All right, and that's what we call, when the institutions are adding to their positions, we call it reaccumulation. you know um, like that. um, hmm. Here, see, adding to their position, adding to their position, boom, adding to their position, boom. And then distribution, and then redistribution. See, adding to their position, redistribution, boom. Right. So this is how we actually uh, like figure out what uh, two different sorts of continuation patterns looks like. Okay. So uptrend, pause, continue higher. You see, uptrend, pause a little bit, then continue higher, pause a little bit, then continue higher. And same goes for downtrend. You can see downtrend, pause a little bit, then go higher, then go lower, like that. Okay. So the key characteristics of this continuation patterns is that they form during an active trend. Okay. Not at the end, but on the active trend. Okay. Price action is contained. All right. Price action is contained. It doesn't break major support and resistance, as you can see here. All right. This is your sign of weakness, like which I have taught you guys. So you can see it doesn't actually break major support or resistance. See, the resistance, it didn't make break that. Instead, it just comes down, which is your redistribution. Volume decreases during the pause. Institutions working quietly. All right. Volume does decreases a little bit, and then institution just like they do the continuation of the trend. All right. Breaks out in direction of trend and continuation confirmed. So if this breaks out in the direction of this downtrend, that's the confirmation of that continuation pattern. Okay. Usually shorter duration than initial accumulation or distribution. So you can see it's very shorter. It's like as soon as it forms, just like keeps going down. All right. So this is not an accumulation. This is actually a redistribution continuation pattern. All right. Or structure, I would like to call it. All right. So reaccumulation structure is you can see that is the same thing, selling climax, automatic rally, but there wasn't any secondary test. Instead, just market shows this sign of weakness, you see, right? And then after pullback, it just goes down. All right. Redistribution structure, that was your redistribution. Sorry, the reaccumulation structure is that one. um, Hang on, I'm getting confused, guys. Sorry about that. I hope you're not getting confused, but yeah. um, Here, so you can see this is a reaccumulation, reaccumulation, reaccumulation. All right. Then when the market goes down, the continuation pattern around here is your redistribution here. Okay. So in distribution structure, we have buying climax. In accumulation, we have selling climax. But if there is not much, um, cause, phase B, phase D, and all this stuff, um, you can see it's very short in time, right? So that's your redistribution. Okay. And like if you forget about that, just remember this one. All right. Like I think this is how I should have led this lecture. It's just like, just remember this line. Okay, as it's going down, and as this um, this is not that much, and market doesn't stay that long, then this is your redistribution structure when the market is coming down. Okay, when the market is going up, all right, you can see here green line, it shows by the green line. Then all this stuff, a small structure, this is your reaccumulation structure. All right. So this is what they are. All right. Redistribution structure, I showed you that one here. Okay. The critical question you can see is that, is this continuation or reversal? All right. So context is everything, guys. Like you need to understand that without context, you're not gonna able to classify this properly. All right. Or, after taking a trade, you might get confused if you're not applying context. So what is context is that, like, first of all, you need to look at higher time frame. What's the bigger picture? Then it will make more sense to you that, like, okay, if this is the top of the higher time frame, then there's more chances that this structure is a distribution structure. Right? If it's in the middle of that, that like downtrend, then it's more likely that it's going to be redistribution structure. All right? If this structure is forming at the low of the higher time frame structure context, then there's more likely chances that this is a good accumulation structure. All right? So higher time frame is really good way to tell that, like, this is a accumulation or distribution. All right? Volume patterns, is volume decreasing or increasing? You should know that. All right? Price action, is it just respecting the trend or breaking it? And then previous structure, was there accumulation or distribution before? This is very important, guys. All right? So let's dissect that. you know you can see, I'll just show you. Well, this was the low of this accumulation, right? Which is started here. And as you see here, when the market comes down from there, it stopped right there, right? And you must be asking, why is that? Like, and the answer to that is, market always remembers where it accumulated and where it distributed. All right? Even if you don't remember it, market will always remember it. Okay? So see, this distribution, it might have come from like somewhere around here. You see this distribution where this was an accumulation, like this converted into distribution. That's why we had this big move downside, right? you know uh, Again, this one here, let me actually show you right there. um, you see, distribution structure, another distribution, and then after that there was this accumulation structure. You can see selling climax, automatic rally, and this was actually inside that distribution structure. So this was actually a redistribution structure, because it was forming at that distribution structure. Okay, so there is gonna be like a couple of combinations that you need to be aware of, and like you need to actually figure it out if this is the case or not. All right. um Moving forward, I actually wanted to show you guys this one, what the higher time frame is showing. So let's actually get started. I actually want to show you uh, this. So if you have watched my previous course, I actually taught you guys geometry of the market and like how market behaves. You know, I actually call it trading truth market structure. So as I apply it, you would see a couple of different lines. All right, and let me actually disable that. So see, on 4 hour, when I apply it, all right, it tracks high and low is of the quarterly. Okay, 60 days. Sorry, not 60 days, but 4 months. Um, hmm, Hang on. Quarterly is actually, you're from this point to this point. That's your 90 days, right? So 4 months makes 1 quarter. All right. Hmm. So see, that's how the higher time frame perspective is. Now if I enable the trading truth concept, and if it's, see this distribution structure, if this is forming on the top of that high, you see, there's more likely chances that this is going to be a major distribution structure. Well, you can also see like this is the case around here as well, right? But you can see it's making higher lows much faster than what this is doing. Okay, this just goes down from there. All right. um, Another actually really good way to do understand this is, if I apply this market structure with higher time frame perspective. So if this is my 4 hour, I want to see the market where it was when in the daily time frame. Okay, so as I come here, I select this is daily time frame, right? Yeah. So from here to here, yeah, it's the structure is from daily time frame. So you can see this low here, this is really good accumulation because it has longer base and market just goes from there. Then this here, buying climax, automatic rally, right? So this, you might be thinking this is a distribution structure, but it is indeed a reaccumulation because it actually formed near the low and it formed on this trend line. Okay, higher time frame trend line there. As we have this, we have this as well. Okay, so you can see there as it goes up, all these little structure are reaccumulation structure, because, well, there are a couple of reasons for that, but you just remember this, as this is going up, this is your reaccumulation. And then when it plateaus around here, you see this trend line there, right? Then the market stops, and that's what your like redistribution, sorry, distribution structure gets formed. All right. Don't get confused, guys. Like, it's very simple. All right. I'm just like, there is a distinction to be made between accumulation, reaccumulation, and distribution and redistribution. Okay. So why this matters is that, first of all, we need to actually correctly identify this. All right. Is that if you identify reaccumulation correctly, you can add to your long positions or enter new longs at better prices. Okay. And if you actually identify it wrong, um, it's like if you make distribution, if you make mistake uh, identifying distribution as a reaccumulation, you'll be buying into weakness and get caught in a downtrend, and basically it will potentially turn into a losing trade, and we don't want that to happen, right? So that's why we are learning about it. And this is where most traders fail, because they see a pause and assume it's an accumulation, but when it's actually is a distribution. All right. So what's next is coming up in the next lectures. We'll deep dive into reaccumulation, how to identify and trade it. Second is redistribution, how to spot it and avoid it as well. And distinguishing between the key differences between continuation and reversal. All right, and then we're gonna be applying higher time frame context usually. Okay, like using context to make better decisions, as I showed you guys here. All right. So um, I hope you guys to I hope you guys like this video, and I hope to see you guys in the next lecture. So I'll see you there. Bye.